the stories about the gods and goddesses is to actually communicate the teachings of yoga and a philosophy and a way of life. And so that is how you could also see them, and they might inspire you when you recognize situations in your daily life. So the first god that I would like to introduce to you is traditionally called upon when we start something new. This is Ganesha. This picture I found on the internet, a typical Indian picture of this god. And in the West mainly we know Ganesha as the remover of obstacles. And this is not a way to see like, oh, okay, we can just trust that someone else will take all the difficulties away from our path. But how can we look at this? I interpret it in this way. It is our own ability, our own quality to, when we're faced with an obstacle, that we can look at it from a different perspective so that the obstacle becomes maybe a challenge, maybe eventually an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, or an opportunity to learn something new, to get an understanding of life, and to find out where the freedom is, where the opening is. And if we look at symbolism from Ganesha, we see that he has a big belly. I hope I put it good in the image here. He has a big belly because he loves everything sweet. He has a real sweet tooth. I can relate to that very well. And his big belly then also represents to peacefully digest all good and bad in life. Very nice, I think. Peacefully digest, not in a rush, and acknowledging that good and bad are both sides of a coin, are part of life. So the yoga practice is not an idea of arriving somewhere in a faraway future, an imaginary situation where we're always happy and we're never faced with difficulties anymore. The big belly of Ganesha representing to peacefully digest all good and bad in life. Meaning also to not suppress the difficulties or the bad things if we label them as bad. We can see any elephant, of course, has big ears. Maybe see it more here. Big ears, which represents to listen carefully, to listen. It can be to anything, as a listening to the thoughts within ourselves, and listening to that what is beyond the thoughts, and listening to our family, our friends, listening to our partner, listening to nature, a bird song, listening to music, listening to our communities. And then he has small eyes, and they represent to concentrate, the practice of focusing, an important aspect in the yoga practice. The practice to steady the mind, get a strong mind to focus, and whatever you choose to focus on is your tool, and that will help you to steady the mind. Usually what happens, okay, we choose one thing to focus on, and then we want to focus on something else, and then something else, and we get distracted, especially when it gets difficult, when we encounter obstacles, and then we may want to focus on something else. So there again, this symbolism of Ganesha can come back. How can we look at this situation or this thing or this person that we see as an obstacle. And maybe, we can look at it as a challenge or look at it as an opportunity. We see, because he has this sweet tooth, we see at his feet always there's prasad, blessed sweet food. And that's represented. The world is at your feet and for your asking. But next to it, we also see a little rat or mouse. In many myths and stories, fairy tales, I think there is already this connection between the elephant and the mouse. And in Hindu mythology, the mouse or the rat is actually the vehicle of Ganesha. So Ganesha has perfect balance to be able to balance his big body on a small little mouse or rat. And the rat also represents desire. So unless under control, rats or desire can cause a lot of havoc, chaos. So again, comes back to this control of the mind. And then he has a big head, of course. An elephant has a big head. Think big, dream. These are some of the symbols of Ganesha, and I'd love to share with you a mantra about Ganesha and also stories about how he got his elephant head, because the rest of his body is in the shape of a human being, and a story about a yoga posture, the half moon posture, Ardha Chandra Asana.